Hi, I'm your host, Ellen Nicole,
And I'm your host, Eileen Nikita.
and welcome to the Instant Caregiver.
So today we're going to talk about the battlefield of putting someone in a nursing home. And no?
I was going to sing on the battlefield, get on the battlefield. Remember that? Okay,
Yeah.
that's right. All right, that song came in my head. Okay. But anyway.
But anyway, moving on. So like we said, we're going to talk about the process of when we were putting our mom in a nursing home. And it was so fast. And the first thing, find that place. And when you go there, you are in crisis mode. You're kind of already, nervous and everything, but they're going to give you like a stack of paper to fill out. And that paperwork is so important, but it's kind of like a rush process because the paperwork is about this thick and it is very small, fine print. But we kind of looked at the nursing home to kind of guide us through what was said in that paperwork.
And they're going to make it seem like you have to sign it right away, or otherwise they won't admit your loved one, and that's not true.
Right. So it was like the nursing home, the admission paperwork, the financial information. They asked all these personal questions about my mom's money and how much she had. And they also talked about her living situation. She had a house and all that. And then there's also a form that's called waiving your liability. And we're going to talk about what all this stuff is. But that's the first step is the admission process. Is all this paperwork.
Right. So once we signed it, we didn't really read it. I mean, I hate to say that because I am an attorney, but we were just, again, we were unprepared. It happened so fast. That's why we're the instant caregiver. We were just thrust into that. The other little part at the beginning, we could kind of muddle our way through, but with the nursing home, everything seems to be so fast. So if we could give you any advice, and we're going to give our 10 strategies, take your time. So we signed the paperwork. My mom was admitted. We were waiting for her when they brought her from the hospital. And she was, still a little bit talkative. She wasn't initiating conversation, but she still had her personality. Because I remember when she first got there, they had to help her with the bathroom. And it was like 3 attendants. And she was like, all of that.
But even then, I remember when we first got there, she was coming out of the ambulance. She looked so confused and scared and everything. But as soon as she saw us, she started screaming. She was so happy. She was still talking. We were like, okay, she recognizes us.
And still making jokes. Like yes. When she was like all that, her personality was still there. So what I'm saying is that her personality was there the first day. It hadn't really changed. She had been there for about a week. And I noticed that her personality drastically changed. She was not talking. She was not as verbal.
She wasn't even eating.
Yeah, she wasn't eating. And she was very lethargic and very sleepy at dinner time. I'm like, this is interesting because my mama likes to eat. So I'm like, why isn't she eating? And so we expressed our concerns to the CNA or the LPN. And she's immediately, my mom only been there a week. She's like, well, and I think we talked about this last time. We've been more in depth today. But she's like, well, your mom is declining. You need to be prepared for the fact that your mom is declining. And I was like, oh, okay. And honestly, we were devastated. My brother, my sister, and I, we walked out and we started crying because we were like, dang, she's only been here a week and she's already declining. So I was thinking, I have a nurse. Shout out to my cousin, Mia. She's a psychiatric nurse. And I called her and I said, Mia, my mom is acting different. She's only been here for a week. And she was like, She's like, Nicole, get your mom's medication list, find out what she's taking, when she's taking it, and why she's taking it. So that was the beginning of us learning, okay, we just can't take them for face value. Right. So my mantra, before we get to the strategy, is assume nothing, question everything. Don't assume that the nursing home has your loved one's best interest. I'm not saying that they don't, but I'm saying don't assume everything that they're telling you is true at face value, because we've learned throughout this process that it's really care. And I think I said that the first time, it's the care, not the disease. So being there is very, very important. So we have our 10 strategies for being a caregiver in a nursing home, because even though you're not there, you still have to exercise. You're still that soldier. In fact, you're more of a soldier because you're not there 24/7 taking care of them. So Nikita's going to start off with the list.
So the first one, like I said, is that contract. You do not have to sign that contract right away. In fact, we recommend that you take it home and have an attorney look at it because there's so many little things in that contract that we had no idea. There's a financial responsibility that you have to take if if her bill doesn't get paid. That's not true in Missouri. I can't talk about other states, but that should have never been in the contract.
I mean, it could have been in the contract, but we didn't have to accept that. In
Right.
Missouri, you don't have to be responsible for your loved one's nursing home care if they aren't able to pay. Now, other states, so if you're in another state, you want to check that out first and see if you're in one of the states where you do have to. Well, then you would have to sign it. But we didn't because we're in Missouri.
Right. And there's also a part in there that talks about her medical insurance. We didn't even see that part, but that's also in there. And, it talks about if she has Medicare and health insurance and all that stuff. We just signed it. There were so many different little things that you have to take notice of. And that's why you should give it to an attorney.
And also every year, I would say look at it because I remember specifically the admissions lady asking me, well, do you want to get rid of her private insurance? And I said, no, I do not want to get rid of it. And years later, when we got her home, we found out they had already gotten rid because, it's more money to them.
Right. And another thing before we go, I just don't want to forget, like if they're going to a nursing home, of course, all their mail is going to go to the nursing home, but it's up to you, to whoever their medical provider is, to let them know that you want a copy of it as well, because she's going to talk about power of attorney, but you have to be alerted that someone's getting taken off of medical insurance, and you want to get that notice so you'll be able to monitor it.
Right. And I'm never going to give legal advice on this channel, but I will talk about some legal things that you may need to talk with an attorney about. If your loved one is not incapacitated, if they can still make their own decisions, and there are some people who go into nursing homes on that level, they still have their faculties. You want to make sure that you have a power of attorney. Okay, and nursing homes will help you with that sometimes, but I would say do that in the beginning stages. We'll talk about that, but I'm talking about it now. Make sure you get a power of attorney as an agent. You want a durable, which means if that loved one is incapacitated and unable to make decisions, that power of attorney will still remain legally binding, and you can still be their agent and make medical and other decisions. If they are not, then you would have to go through the whole court process of getting to be their guardian, and we'll talk about that at a later date. We'll talk about guardianships and conservatorships and the whole lot that you have to deal with.
But you have to.
You really do. So then also, if they are able to still speak and they have their faculties, make sure you get on their HIPPA. That is a way for you to get their medical records and see what medicines they're taking and see the list. Because I know when I called it, first of all, I never saw the doctor. I called the doctor's office because usually doctors work other places, and they didn't want to talk to me because, you're not on HIPAA. I'm like, well, I have the power of attorney. So I eventually, because of my power of attorney that I had, was able to get a list of her medication. So those are the first two things.
Right. You said number 2 was to get a list of the medication and the dosage. And also you want to do it, on a regular basis. So like if it's, because they change their medicines without even alerting you. So I would say get it at least maybe once every other month, just so you can see what they're taking.
Oh, and back to our story. When we got her medication list, our mom was taking Vicodin and she was taking melatonin before dinner. I'm like, first of all, my mom only had arthritis in her shoulders, high blood pressure. Why is she taking Vicodin? That is what's knocking her out. And well, I don't know if it knocks her out, but
it does.
On top of the melatonin, you all know melatonin puts you to sleep. That's what you get at night. So I'm like, why are you giving this to her before dinner? And honestly, that was a constant ongoing fight. Please stop giving my mom melatonin for dinner. Of course she's going to.
And Vicodin.
Of course she's going to be sleeping when she's eating.
Number 5 is the care plan. So most people don't realize that the care plan is required by law. The care plan is something where you and the administrators and the nurses will sit down and come up with a care plan for your loved one. And this is really important because this is where you find out what is needed, if she can get, some type of therapy. So the care plan, that is something that you definitely want to do. And I think they do that quarterly or something like that.
I'm not really sure. I do know that the care plan would implement it for a week or two, and then it would change, meaning they would drop off. So again, you're gonna initiate the care plan. Well, no, they'll initiate it. You're gonna go to that meeting, make sure you're there, and also you have to checklist, make sure that they're following up on that care plan, because there were many times where they would do it great for like a week or two, and then things would start sliding off. So again, you are a soldier. We're talking about being on the battlefield. Every element of their care, even though you're not there, you need to be abreast of and make sure you know that they're following what they say they're going to do.
Right. And the care plan is not something where they simply tell you, okay, this is what your mom is. You need to come in with your own guidance of what you want the care plan to be like. You know, like we had certain things that even though she couldn't talk, she still could do therapy. And because she had an arm that she wasn't using that much, but they was just going to let her, not do anything. It was like, well, no, we want her to go to therapy. So those are the things that you have to keep in mind when you do this care plan. What does it look like for your loved one, and what do you want to get accomplished for your loved one while they're in the nursing home?
And then our next one were pop-up visits. That's how you make sure that the care plan is implemented. You do pop-up visits, and they can't be routine. They have to be not scheduled when they know you're coming. You got to surprise them. You got to pop up on them. You got to roll up and be like, okay, hey.
Right.
And I promise you, we would be there sometimes at 4:00 in the morning, sometimes at 6. They're like, why are they here? Because we can be, again,
anytime. And I had a friend that worked there. I had several friends that worked there, and they had my phone number. And so they would tell me, because, we would park right in the front, and we would say, they would call in the back and say, Miss Usher's daughters are here. Please make sure she is presentable or whatever. But the fact that we had to do that should have been a given. It should have been for every single resident, and not just because we came all the time.
And we heard this before, and it's 100% true. They know the people who come to see about their residents. They know what residents need to be, clean. And it's so sad to say that, because you would think at a nursing home that would be a given. But this is pre-pandemic, and they had staffing shortages. And they had, people working 20-hour shifts with 10 residents, and they were sleepy. So that's just unfortunately the nature of nursing homes. We didn't even talk about this at the beginning, but we'd had experiences, and how a lot of people say, oh, well, I don't send my people to a nursing home. My family did. My grandparents were both in a nursing home. I have other family members who have been in nursing home, and that was in the 90s, early 2000s. It was not the same. So this is our pre-pandemic. Thank God we got our mom out before the pandemic, but this is pre-pandemic, and I know now that it's even a more dire situation. So all the things that we're saying is times 10 now because of what the pandemic has done to nursing homes. So not only do we do pop-up visits, when they have hospital visits, I'm going to be honest, I did not particularly care for the change in doctors at the nursing home. And then the hospital, they're going to send them to, because my mom had to get rid of all her assets, a hospital that takes Medicaid. And we would go. We would take off work, and we would be there. And it was amazing to me that we would only relatives who were ever there with the people, because there would be other people from other nursing homes who came as well, and they'll have a CNA. CNAs be on the phone. CNAs would be sleep.
Yeah, because the one time we did, have a CNA go with it, because we said we didn't really need one because it was both of us. But the one time we went, it was someone, and they slept the whole time while, even in the doctor's visit, they didn't even go in the room when the doctor was talking to to my mom. So yeah, so
I have pictures. Honestly, I took pictures of every single moment for the past videos and pictures. I got them all. But yeah, I do. I'm not going to actually display them. He was one of the best ones. He was a good, but again, I don't, yeah. So even the good ones, unfortunately, sometimes are overworked and I don't say underpaid too. Mm-hmm. So definitely go with them to the visits, because you know your loved one's history, especially if they can't talk. And again, our mom could not initiate conversations, so we had to talk for her, tell her medical history. She had diabetes. At some point, she had high blood pressure. She only had one kidney. Our mom gave my uncle a kidney. Those are things that a CNA is not going to know. And those are things that the doctor needs to know. Also, to piggyback on top of going to the doctor's visits and finding out when they are, I went to my mom's dentist visit. She didn't have any teeth, but hey, I went with her because I wanted wanted to be there just in case there's something I needed to know. And then also, they have what they call non-medical transportation. You have to be really careful because my mom was very, she will tell you when she was in pain. And one of the drivers was kind of rushing her and he was pushing her. I go, wait, you are hurting her. Her arm is hurting. You're pushing her into the wall. And if I hadn't been there, he would have done that. So it's like because you don't really know who these people are, even a transportation company that they're using to take your mom or whomever.
Sometimes it would be like 8 people going to the doctor, and so your your loved one would have to wait until either he finished taking all those people to get to their appointment, but they would all be together at the same time.
Mm-hmm. So pop-up visits, hospital visits, I think that's 8 and 9. And then we were able to do those. Why were we able to do the pop-up visits? We had pop-up visits and also take off from work to do those visits to the hospital or to the doctor. Make sure if you want, like we have a really good Center for Advancement Aging. Anyway, it's a really good doctor, really good hospital, right. And they specialize in Alzheimer's and neurological dementia care. And I wanted my mom to see a specialist. I wish I had known in the beginning, but near the end, I was like, you know what? I want her to go to the doctor. I want her to see the specialist, yep. And you can do that.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you can. They don't tell you this, but you don't have to go to the doctor that the nursing home has on staff. Because, be honest, I'm gonna be honest. I never saw the doctor. Did
no,
you? I never saw him. I mean, so you can, take her outside, but of course you might have to pay for it because it's, not on their plan. But that's something that you should be able to do. You should know that you can do that. And so the other part of it is we're going to talk about FMLA. A lot of people don't realize FMLA is not just for yourself and it's not just 12 weeks, 480 hours. You can use it for your loved ones,
even if they're in a nursing home.
Even if they're in a nursing home. People don't realize. They think, they have to be at home, I have to be in the hospital. No, you can use it to go and check on your loved one. It's called providing care because you're going to go check on them on a nursing home.
Yeah.
People don't realize that. But yes, you can do that and you reapply every year because typically if they're in a nursing home, that means their illness is never going to go away. It's just going to be continuous. So that's why FMLA, intermittent leave, can be continuous. It's really important that you need to understand that. And employers aren't going to tell you. They're just going to say, oh, yeah, you get it for 480 hours or 12 weeks for yourself, but you can use it for a loved one that's in a nursing home.
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely beneficial for me as well. So we talked about, so that was number 8. Number 9 is you know your loved one better than anybody else. Mm-hmm. And like I said, for us, our mom was not able to talk, but she communicated all the time by the sounds that she made. She was very loud at the beginning, even in the nursery the whole time. She was loud because that's the only thing that she had. When she was wet, she would yell. When she was hurting, and I remember once the nursing home was like, "Yeah, this is when she had one of her falls." They're like, and she was yelling, but nothing was happening. And in my mind, I was like, she was yelling because she was telling you she was about to slip out of the chair. So again, if you have that one-on-one, you know your loved one, you know what they communicate. You have to let them be aware of what her situation is. So we made notes and suggestions. So we would print out, Virginia gets agitated when this happens. So give her, and we had lollipops in her drawer. And if she's agitated, give her a lollipop.
And calm her down.
Right. If you change her in the morning, she's got bone-to-bone degenerative arthritis. Make sure you be gentle. Hold, don't pull her up or whatever. So we had all these notes, and I made a point to say, even though she can't talk, she understands. She feels, she feels what your energy is bringing. I didn't say the no type of words, but in other words, she'll let us know if you're not treating her correctly just by the way she looked at certain people when they came. And so
like, she likes her, she doesn't like her, And the other part is that the nursing home should be a home away from home. It's so important that you put things in there that they're familiar with, the pictures on the wall. And one thing we found out, I think by reading that book, they talked about music. She loved old music. She also loved old Black sitcom. So we were able to find a way to get that on her TV in her room.
We made sure that they used the Wi-Fi, and we put in her, we had Netflix, we had Hulu. I'm going to just put a little sidebar here. One of the CNAs put in their Netflix password. Again, you need to watch that. Make sure you have a password where only you can use her internet or her Netflix or whatever. I mean, just things you wouldn't even think about, having to protect, but you need to protect their Wi-Fi and their
in the nursing home.
And streaming apps.
Listen, we got her this chair because we really wanted her to feel comfortable. Like, she had this really beautiful kind of like a rocking chair that was very comfortable. And sometimes we would come and the CNA would be sitting in it and my mom is not sitting in it. We were like, what is going on?
You gotta be on top. You gotta be that soldier. You gotta, I'm not using any violent analogies, but really gotta be on top of things. And another thing that we did is, and I think you already know this, but we put pictures up, but we also put mom, dad. We had family pictures. And for some reason, I don't know why, but if you have a lot of family pictures, the people in the staff, it makes that person seem more like I want to say human, a person. This person had a history before that, and people would always ask me questions about the pictures. And, that allows them to see your loved ones is a person. They're not just another number. This person is a family member,
And then you also want to do things such as having like special dinner night, or a movie. But every Friday we would bring my mom this special soup from, this place called Strive. But she would, loved it every Friday. She was almost upset if we didn't bring it, and then we would spend time after we would eat to watch our favorite movie together. And even I remember she loved donuts and coffee. So almost every morning on my way to work, even before she stopped talking, she's like, what's in the bag? So I had my donuts and coffee for her. It was just something that she really looked forward to. So those are the little things that you have to do, when someone's in a nursing home, to let them know that, you're away from home, but it's still going to be a place that we're going to show you love here.
Right. I mean, it seems like a lot, and it is, but just because your loved one is in a nursing home doesn't mean that you're just going to give them, 100% to them. You have to still be a caregiver, even more so. There's some resources. So the third part, we said we would do our story, then we have some strategies, and then also we're gonna leave you out with some resources. Yeah. One of the resources, and it'll be at the bottom if you click at the bottom of our YouTube, and I will also say the links. I have it here. When you're thinking about sending your loved ones to a nursing home, their reports are online. You can see reports about what they're doing, what their grade. The grades go from A to like K, L, M, K being the absolute worst. And I did not know this before I put my mom in a nursing home, but it is propublica.org. So you'll see down here. You put in the
description box.
Yeah, propublica.org. You'll put in your state and then put in the name of the nursing home, and it'll pop up. And I found records from 2017. These are state reports, 2017 up to 2021. And when I read those, again, your heart will break, because not only are there the reports from the state, but they interview the residents who are able to interview. And some of the things that I saw, and I remember even from my own experiences. So you want to read that. If you are thinking about, and I'm going to be anti-nursing home, I am pro-aging at home, but I understand that not everybody can do what we did. So this is why you want to have these strategies. Definitely go to that website, put in your the nursing home you're thinking about using, and it will give you the reports in depth. You're like, oh no, not going to put them here. So that's the first resource. So we also have our nursing home checklist. That's going to be in the bottom here. It's also on our website. And in addition to doing the ProPublica research, when you go visit unannounced. Don't say, hey, I want to come. Say, hey, I'm, just visit. I want to see around. That way they're not prepared. You'll see what it's like for real when they don't know someone's coming. And finally, the third resource we have for you is a book called The 36-Hour Day by Nancy Mace. It is a fantastic book. I think everything that we use, everything that we did, a lot of the tips that we learned from that book. And it's a book that I didn't even want to read. I read it when my mom was actually in the hospital. Several people had suggested that book to us. So it's a wonderful book.
So I'm going to put the link in the description box. If you want to buy that book, all you do is click on that link.
Okay. So we hope that by sharing our stories and these 10 strategies, that those of you who are in the process or thinking about using a nursing home, that you would use those. We ask that you go ahead and please like it. Please subscribe. Every week we'll have different strategies and stories about caregiving from various levels. We also have a Facebook group called the Instant Caregiver. We'd love to have you as a member. And then we're also on Instagram, the Instant Caregiver. I put the tips up that we do here on Instagram as well. So thank you.
Thank you. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions, send us an email at the instantcaregiver@gmail.com.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.